Okay, here we go. And for the first trade, I have Luis Arraez going to the Toronto Blue Jays. It's been rather quiet on the trade front this offseason. However, according to reports, the Marlins seem very well open to making trades. And why not start with a guy that's going to bring you back quite a lot in Luis Arraez? Had a phenomenal season last year. He was chasing a 400 batting average at one point. My goodness. Hit 354, 393 on the on base, a 469 slugging, a 132 WRC plus. He would be a perfect bat atop pretty much every lineup in baseball today. And if we take a look at the Blue Jays as of right now, I think they're a perfect fit. If we take a look at the top of their lineup, you got Springer, Bichette, Vlad. That's pretty righty heavy. I feel like you could use a lefty in there. And when we take a look at the numbers from last year, the Blue Jays only ranked 18th in on-base percentage in the first inning. And when we take a look at Luis Arraez, he was 6th overall in batting average. That sounds like a pretty good recipe if you ask me. He ranked really well when it came to on-base percentage too. Take a look at the overall leaderboards. He was 30th overall with a 358 on base. So I think the Blue Jays would be a perfect fit. And for the Marlins, they got a couple of pieces, or the Blue Jays have a couple of pieces that I think the Marlins could use. So here is the trade. Luis Arraez going to the Blue Jays and going back to the Marlins. We're going to send Alejandro Kirk. We're going to send Davis Schneider, as well as a prospect in Yosfer Zulueta. Now, Kirk is the big piece here. He was phenomenal a couple of years ago. However, his numbers dipped a bit last year. Only hit 250, 358 slugging, and 96 WRC plus. Still had a pretty good on base at 334. But those numbers compared to 2022 definitely dipped. He had almost a 4 on the Fangraph WAR. So that dropped. However, the defense is still really good with Alejandro Kirk. For right now, the Marlins, when we take a look at the catching position, you have Nick Fortes there. Very good defensively, but the bat is not very good. So maybe Alejandro Kirk, he can go to Miami. He can get that bat woken up again, and that would be a really nice bat to replace in Luis Arraez, but it's not only Alejandro Kirk. You'd be getting Davis Schneider as well, 24 years old, and he was awesome last year in a small sample size. 35 games, had a 404 on base and a 603 slugging. He was destroying my Red Sox at one point last year. But this would be a really nice piece to put at second base, replacing Luis Arraez right there. And then they're going to get a prospect here as well in Yosfer Zulueta. Very close to being Major League ready. A big fastball, more of a reliever at this point. Maybe you could convert him back to starting, but this would be a really nice piece for the Marlins to get. I mean, they develop pitching really well, so this would be a nice prospect, especially with a big fastball. Overall, I feel like this trade would be really helpful for both sides, and for the Blue Jays, they would get the lefty bat that they desperately need. And just looking at the lineup as of right now, so if you have Davis Schneider at second base, Luis Arraez, he just slots right in there. Maybe you could move Danny Jansen to the catcher spot. Now that Kirk is gone, you could maybe move Vlad to more of a DH spot, and that could open up maybe the possibility of signing someone like a Cody Bellinger, maybe Rhys Hoskins. Man, could you imagine that with Bellinger in this lineup and Luis Arraez? That would be a deadly lineup. Up next, I have Shane Bieber and Emmanuel Clase going to the Dodgers. What an offseason the Dodgers have had. They've had arguably the greatest offseason of all time. You started off with a guy named Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if you've heard of him before. He is pretty good. A 10-year, $700 million deal. Are you freaking kidding me? Getting the greatest player in the universe. But you didn't stop there, did you, Dodgers? You just had to go out there and get Yoshinobu Yamamoto too, one of the greatest pitchers in the world coming over from Japan. You also got Tyler Glasnow, for crying out loud, James Paxton just a couple of days ago, and you added Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, what an offseason this has been. It's been absolutely incredible. But if there was one more area the Dodgers could fill, it could be something for this bullpen. Ryan Brazier was amazing for them in the second half last year, but he's a free agent now. It doesn't seem like he's going to go back there. So now this could be a great opportunity to add something to the back end of the bullpen, and I think Emmanuel Clase would be amazing. You have him under control for the next 5 seasons. He's dirt cheap for the next 5 seasons. I mean, look at the numbers that he's been putting up here. 75 games last year, FIP at a 2.91, 44 saves in 23, 42 in 2022. I mean, the guy's numbers are just off the charts. This is one of the best closers in the game. To add him to the back end of your bullpen with Phillips, I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, my goodness. But You'd also get Shane Bieber as well. Now, he has had some injuries in the last, few years, but Shane Bieber is still Shane Bieber at the end of the day. And what makes this interesting, too, is whether or not the Dodgers are going to have a 6-man rotation, or, could they roll with the normal 5? But with Yamamoto, he's been used to the 6-man rotation in Japan. So you could essentially have a rotation of Yamamoto, Glasnow, Buehler, Miller, Paxton, and Bieber. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, what a rotation that would be. And if you did run with a 6-man rotation, maybe that would actually be beneficial for guys like Tyler Glasnow, James Paxton, Bieber, who have had injury concerns over the last few years. Walker Buehler coming back from Tommy John. Bobby Miller going into his 2nd season. Now, the trade that I have set up here, I have a couple of different ones. Going to the first one here, so we have Clase Bieber going to the Dodgers, and then going back to the Guardians, we got quite a package here, led by Andy Pages, a power-hitting outfielder, and 3 pitching prospects. We got Gavin Stone, who is the number 2 prospect in your system at the moment. Pages is number 3. And then you got River Ryan and Frasso. Frasso is number 4, and River Ryan is number 7. Or, if you wanted to, you could do this maybe with someone like Emmett Sheehan instead. Maybe not so much volume, so you could do a 3-for-2. Sheehan, he is Major League ready right now. Still get Pages, still get Ryan. No matter what the deal is, the Dodgers, with all the prospects that they have, they could totally get something done here. I mean, adding Bieber to the rotation and Clase to the bullpen, that is as close to a checkmate move as you can get. Up next, I have Kenley Jansen going to the Texas Rangers. So I saw an article on Bleacher Report a few weeks ago titled Realistic MLB Trades That Could Happen Before Spring Training. But there was one trade that caught my eye, and that was Kenley Jansen going to the Rangers. But the reason it caught my eye was because of the piece going back to the Red Sox, and that would be Jack Leiter. Now, I don't think Kenley Jansen and cash is going to be enough for Jack Leiter, but maybe we can have some fun with it. Maybe we can make it a bit more realistic. Maybe this is Giraffe Neck Robbie talking. I don't know, but I'm going to have some fun with it, and I'm going to try and put together a trade that I think could be a bit more realistic. However, what I do think is realistic is Kenley Jansen going to the Rangers. They could absolutely use something else at the back end of this bullpen. That bullpen really struggled last year. Sure, they figured it out in the postseason, but when I'm looking at this bullpen, yeah, you added Kirby Yates, sure, but a veteran guy like Kenley Jansen at the back end with Jose Leclerc, I think would be very helpful for them in the regular season. And then if you get to the postseason, Kenley, obviously a lot of postseason experience. So I think it would be a great fit. Now, the question is, would you be able to get someone back like Jack Leiter? The problem with Jack Leiter is he has really struggled since getting drafted number 2 overall back in 2021. Very highly touted coming out of the draft. A lot of good stuff, good velocity, but he has just not figured it out in the minor leagues. If we go take a look at the numbers so far, at this point, number 5 on MLB Pipeline, I do expect that to drop because the numbers have just not been good. Overall, a 5.37 ERA over 43 games in the minors. So, I don't know, maybe a change of scenery could be good for Jack Leiter, and maybe the Rangers could use him to get back some pieces. So, the trade itself, getting back to this, again, I don't think Jansen and cash is going to be enough. However, maybe we could add a couple more pieces. So the pieces that I added to this would be Brandon Walter and Yordany Monegro, a couple of pitching prospects, along with cash. So if we take a look at someone like Brandon Walter, he is, as of right now, the number 24 prospect, more of a high floor guy at this point. Not a lot of velocity, but has really good off-speed stuff, a really good slider. I think this is a guy that could have a long career in the major leagues, either at, the back end of a rotation, or just a bullpen piece. So I think Walter, considering the high floor that he has, maybe that could be something, the Rangers be like, okay, well, you know what, at least we get a high floor guy back in return that we know can contribute for us for the next several years. And then the other guy is a guy with a bit more upside, a little farther away, in Yordany Monegro. Has a pretty decent fastball, but a very good curveball as well. He's 6'4", so a big frame. So there's definitely a lot of projection there with Yordany Monegro. So you know what? If the Red Sox, if they could somehow pull off getting Jack Leiter, I would do cartwheels. I'd probably say no if there was a team to say no to this. Would probably be the Rangers. But if the Red Sox were somehow able to get Jack Leiter, I think that would be a really good home for him. The Red Sox, they recently just hired Kyle Boddy, who is the founder of Driveline Baseball. They've done a lot of great work with developing pitchers. And to me, if you could put Jack Leiter in this system, along with a guy like Craig Breslow, who's the new CBO, where, obviously a very big emphasis on the pitching side of things, Andrew Bailey, obviously, I think you could do something with Jack Leiter. I would think, the Rangers, they've never been amazing at developing pitching. I mean, look what happened with Cole Reagans last year, right? So I feel like a new home for Jack Leiter could really go a long way. And I think that home would be a good home would be the Red Sox. So again, do I see this trade happening? Probably not, but who knows? Never say never, right? Up next, I have Jorge Polanco going to the Seattle Mariners. Let's get to a bit more of a realistic trade, shall we? And I'm looking at this Mariners lineup. You added Mitch Garver. I like that move. Mitch Haniger you brought back in the Robbie Ray trade, but I feel like you need something else in this lineup. I'm looking at second base, third base. You got Rojas, you got Urias there. I feel like you could make an upgrade, and I think someone that could be had is Jorge Polanco on the Twins. He has missed some time over the last couple of years, only played 80 games last year, hit 255 or 335 on base, 454 slugging, a 118 WRC plus. Solid numbers. We always use the two magical words, if healthy, but if healthy, he would be a solid bat for the Mariners, and that would be a nice upgrade, gives them a bit more extension in that lineup. And the Mariners, with him, I think would be a really good team for next year. So taking a look at the trade, we got Polanco to the Mariners, and going back to the Twins, I have Emerson Hancock, Zach Deloche, and Dylan Moore. Now, Hancock, I think, would be a nice piece for the Twins to get back. You just lost Sonny Gray to the St. Louis Cardinals, so I feel like, yeah, you do have a full rotation with Lopez, Ryan, Ober, Paddock, and Varland, but, Paddock, he's had the health issues, Varland, not really a whole lot of experience in the majors so far. I feel like having a bit more depth in Emerson Hancock, where I talked about with Walter a little earlier, a high floor guy would be a good get for the Twins, right? Because I think with Hancock, really the ceiling for him is a mid to back end rotation kind of a guy, but I think that would be good for the Twins to get back. He's a young guy, so I think this would be a nice pickup for them. But then they would also be getting another prospect in Zach Deloche, an outfield prospect, put up really good numbers last year in AAA, hit 286, a 387 on base, 481 on the slugging, 23 home runs. The problem with him is he strikes out a lot, so maybe the Twins could figure out something with him, but he definitely has some pop from the left side. That would be a pretty nice outfielder to get. And then they would also get Dylan Moore. So with the right now with the Mariners, you've got Josh Rojas, who is a very versatile player. Dylan Moore, he is also very versatile. I think this would be a nice piece for the Twins to get back. He can play just multiple positions, so that would be a nice get in my opinion. Overall, I think this trade would help out both sides. And last but not least, I have Jesus Lazaro going to the Baltimore Orioles. I told you there were going to be a lot of Marlins trades in this video, but I think Jesus Lazaro is absolutely perfect for the Baltimore Orioles, and that's coming from a Red Sox fan. I'm just saying. But for the Orioles, there's been a lot of noise on, a Dylan Cease trade, but I think they actually match up a lot better for a Jesus Lazaro trade. I'll tell you why in just a second. But taking a look here at the current rotation for the Orioles, they won 101 games last year, got knocked out in the playoffs, but I think for them to get over that hump, they need something else in this rotation. You got Bradish, you got G-Rod, Means, Kramer, Irvin. That's fine, but for the playoffs, I think you need just a stud at the top there. Not saying Bradish and G-Rod can't be those guys, but why not just go and add someone like a Jesus Lazaro, especially when you have the prospects. You would have him for 3 years. He's cheap every single year, which is going to make his value very high, but the Orioles can definitely get it done. Looking at his numbers from last year, 32 starts, a 3.58 ERA, 3.55 on the FIP, over 10 strikeouts per 9, under 3 walks per 9. Very solid numbers for Jesus Lazaro. So why would the Orioles match up better for Jesus Lazaro than, say, Dylan Cease? Especially if Jesus Lazaro is going to be more expensive, and he will be more expensive than Cease because he has 3 years of control, while Dylan Cease only has 2. So, and another reason too is because Chris Getz, the White Sox general manager, he's looking for top prospects, and they're just not really matching up there. While the Marlins, they might not necessarily need those top prospects, say like a Colton Cowser or even a Heston Kjerstad. The Marlins and Orioles, I think, could get it done without those guys. Looking at the trade that I put together here, Lazaro to the Orioles, and then Samuel Basallo to the Marlins, along with Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, and Jude Fabian. It would definitely cost a hefty package, but I think for Lazaro, 3 years, I think would be worth it. So Samuel Basallo, who the heck is Samuel Basallo? This is a name you want to keep an eye out for. He's the Orioles' number 2 prospect as of right now, behind Jackson Holiday. And this guy mashes, man. He had a .551 slugging last year, a .402 on base. I mean, my goodness, 20 home runs last year. This guy is someone you want to pay attention to. But I think the reason he's expendable for the Orioles is because they already have a good hitter in Kobe Mayo. With Samuel Basallo, he's projected to be, either a catcher or a first baseman, but you already got Adley Rutschman there, and so if you got Kobe Mayo that could play some first base for you, I think Basallo, who's farther away, could be expendable. So I think that would be a really nice piece for the Marlins to get back, a really good bat to put in their system. But the Marlins could also use a better shortstop in their system, and someone like Joey Ortiz is very close to Major League ready. He could probably start for you opening day this year, and you also have the luxury of being able to send back a lefty pitcher who hasn't really found, a home, I would say, in the majors. They were using him in the bullpen last year. He was very good out of the bullpen, but there's talks of him, maybe being a starter next year. I think for the Marlins, right, look at what they did with Jesus Lazaro. They got him back on track, and DL Hall, I think they could do the same thing for him, really take advantage of all the potential that he has, and maybe they could turn him into a really good starter. And then you got a kid who went to the University of Florida in Jude Fabian. Dude's got a ton of power. And hey, he's a Florida kid. I think it just makes a lot of sense. To me, I think the Orioles are an absolute perfect trade partner to get Jesus Lazaro. It just makes so much sense to me. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on all of these trades. Which one was your favorite? Which ones do you think are realistic? Which ones do you think are not realistic? Let me know in the comments down below. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you can, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.